Don't drop any of these lenses now. So let me put them back in the let me put them back in the bag. Fujifilm releases more and more cameras with 40 megapixel sensor. And they have a good line of lenses, but some of them, they can resolve 40 megapixels of these new extra sensors. So they have a list of lenses, they can do that, and the rest of the lenses they cannot take advantage of these 40 megapixels. So I want to test if that's really a case, and do I need to replace some of the lenses I do have and they are not on that list. The idea of this video came to me when I was watching a video on YouTube from another photographer who actually said that he sold his 10 to 24 millimeter lens because that wasn't on this list. And I do actually have that 10 to 24 millimeter lens, the old version. I know this video can be only interesting for those who have these Fuji cameras with 40 megapixels, or they are planning to buy one, and they do have some old lenses that are not on the Fuji list, or lenses they can resolve 40 megapixel sensor. So I have two lenses that they are not on that list, and two lenses that they are on the list. I have it's very awkward holding all these lenses. I have 10 to 24 millimeter, which is not on the list of that list of Fujifilm. I do have 16 to 55 millimeter. It's a red badge lens, and this one is actually on that list. So it's supposed to resolve 40 megapixel. And then I have 16 to 80 millimeter, which is on the camera now. That one is not on that list. And then I have 70 to 300 millimeter zoom lens, and this one is on the list. So two of them are not, 10 to 24 and 16 to 80, and two lenses are on that list, 16 to 55 and 70 to 300. I hope I don't drop any of these lenses now. Let me put them back in the bag. Okay, so what I'm trying to do today is to shoot this tunnel of trees with all of those lenses, and this is not a scientific test by any means. I don't have equipment and the skills to do a scientific test and compare these lenses, but I do have something else, which is in the field experience, and I want to test that lenses in real world in my day-to-day job as a photographer, see if they actually can make different quality images, or the differences are negligible. I try to be as fair to these lenses as much as possible. 10 to 24 and 16 to 80 millimeter, they have a little bit of coverage in focal length, and I know all of these lenses, the zoom lenses, they don't perform their best when you zoom all the way in, or sometimes not all the way out as well. So I try to find the sweet spot that it's covered by by these lenses. For 10 to 24 millimeter, I shoot at 20 millimeter, and also I use f8 as my aperture, because usually f8 is around the sweet spot for all these lenses, more or less. As I said, it's not a scientific test. My goal today is to help you if you want to keep your lenses that you already own and save the money for something more important, like a photography trip or a workshop or other accessories that you actually need. Or it's better for you to replace these lenses and get the better ones. If I can help only one person, my mission is completed and I am satisfied. I have turned the image stabilization off because I'm using tripod, and I use 2-second timer just to make sure that there is no shake in camera and get a sharp image. I use ISO 125 lowest just to get the best image quality, and shutter speed is whatever it is. We don't have any breeze or wind, so the trees and leaves are still, they don't move, which is perfect. And I chose this subject because we have a lot of details in the trees that actually can show the quality of these lenses. So I will shoot the 10 to 24 at 20 millimeter and also 16 to 80 millimeter at 20 millimeter and at 35 millimeter. Then I will switch to 16 to 80 millimeter. I will shoot at 20 millimeter and 35 millimeter as well. And to compare 16 to 80 to 70 to 300, I will zoom in up to 70 millimeter. I know this lens suffers from softness when you zoom all the way in, so I am avoiding 80 millimeter. Now the test is done. It's time to go home, download those images on the computer and compare them.
Let's have a look at the result of this test. I learned two things from this test. First is that I enjoyed doing that. Second is that I learned new things about my lenses. Now we are going to have a look at the images and compare them inside Capture One. The first category that I'm going to look at is 20 millimeter images. I have three images. One I took with 16 to 55 millimeter, 10 to 24 millimeter, and the other one is taken by 16 to 80 millimeter. It's a focal length that all these three lenses can cover. Because I know 16 to 55 is the sharpest lens among these three lenses. It's a red badge lens, and it is on the list of lenses that can resolve 40 megapixel sensors on Fuji cameras. I'm gonna keep the image taken by this lens as reference. You can see in metadata that is taken which lens, 16 to 55, and it's a 20 millimeter. And I'm gonna compare it to the one that I took with the 10 to 24 millimeter here. I'm not gonna look at the corner of the images because usually lenses are softer at the corners. To do this comparison, we have to look at the best part of the image, which is in the center and close to the focal point of the image. At 100% zoomed in, I don't see any difference really between these two images in terms of image quality. And we can actually zoom in a little bit more to 200 millimeter. Still, I see no difference between these two images. If there is any, I think 10 to 24 is actually a little bit sharper in this area compared to 16 to 55. This lens, despite being not on the list of lenses for 40 megapixel sensors, also it's the oldest lens among all of my lenses, still I think it's a very good lens, and I'm not gonna replace it just because of this reason. The only reason I might want to replace this one is that the new version of this lens has weather sealing, which this one doesn't have. But beside that, I have no issue with the lens, and I think it's a very good lens. Now let's have a look at the image taken by 16 to 40 megapixel at 20 millimeter. And again, I don't see too much of difference at 200% zoom into these images. Let's move a little bit further to 300. At 300, again, I don't see a huge difference. 16 to 80 millimeter is doing a good job in rendering the details. Now, let's move to the next category, which is the images I taken at 35 millimeter, and only two lenses can cover this focal length, 16 to 55 and 16 to 80. So I have two images to compare here. Again, I will keep the 16 to 55 as a reference image and compare to 16 to 80. Let's have a look at these barks here. At 100% zoomed in, the difference is not as great. It's not much. I think they are quite similar. I see a lot of details in these branches here in both images. But if I zoom into 200, I think this is good. It's not that far off, and 16 to 80 millimeter can produce a lot of details as well. When I look at the grass here in this area, I see a lot of details here as well as I see here in 16 to 55 millimeter. and we are 200% zoomed in. Just let's have a look at the sky. 200% zoom in. It's so similar. I can argue actually 16-80 has a little bit more sharpness and more details compared to 16-55 at 35mm. The last category is at 70mm, and for 70mm the only two lenses can cover that are 16-80mm and 70-300mm lens. 70-300mm is on the list, 16-80 is not. So we're gonna select the one that I took with 70-300 at 70mm and compare it to the one that I took with the other lens 16-80. Now things are getting a little bit more interesting. I can see that 16-80mm is much softer than 70-300 at 70mm. I think it's because 70mm is towards the end of the zoom range of 16-80. Most of the zoom lenses are suffering from softness when you zoom all the way in. Even 70-300, if you zoom into 300 and 250mm above, you will see the same problem. When I look at this fence here, I can see a lot of more detail and sharpness compared to this one. Maybe it's hard to see on YouTube, so let's zoom into 200%, and now you can see the difference. It's much softer here compared to this one. 70-300 is much sharper than 16-80. By looking at this branch here on the ground, all these details actually are lost here in this image. The details, the small branches on the ground, they are disappeared in the image taken with 16-80mm. At 70mm. At 70mm. So but if I zoom into 100%, and let's have a look at this side of the image. But when I look at these images at 100% zoom in, the difference is noticeable when you compare them together, but it's not as big of deal that you might think. So yes, if I have 70-300 with me and I need to zoom into 70mm and above, I should switch to 70-300. But I really love 16-80mm because it's a very versatile lens. I made a video about it. If you haven't seen that video, I put it in the corner. It's one of the most viewed videos that I recently uploaded to YouTube. There I explain exactly why I like this lens. For fun, let me show you how many images I took this year only with this lens. When I look at my catalog of all images that I took with 16-80mm, it's 3 times of the images I took with 70-300, almost. Yeah, more than double of images I took with 16-55 and images I took with 10-24. So this is the most used lenses for me, and yes, probably some of these images are repeated images, for instance different waves coming towards the shore or something like that. But regardless, this is the lens that sits and lives on my camera most of the time. So I hope you learned something from this video, and this video has been helpful to you to find if you need to upgrade your lenses or not. My verdict is that I don't need to do that. I'm happy with the lenses I do have. The extra money I should put in to buy a lens that can cover the same focal length and has a little bit more sharpness is not justified. I prefer to keep my money and spend it on something more important, like a landscape photography trip or something like that. I hope you enjoyed the video too, and don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and watch my other videos, and you can watch my photo editing playlist. Until next video, take care and bye.